Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 14th day of March, 2019. Well, it's Pi Day. I love that, don't you? Aside from that, it's a day for change. 14 reduces to 5 in this month and year of catalytic energy, of 3 energy. So the total numerology would be 3, 3, 6, and 5 is 11. So we have also a day of illumination if you want to consider the entire, date, month, year, and day. Add that into it. So maybe illumination resulting in some change. I don't know. We finally, the pressure was on after so many countries banned the, even from flying over their airspace, the 737 from Boeing. Finally, Donald decided to, but of course he didn't have to, he said. We could have waited, but we decided not to. And he decided to stop the, to ground that plane. See, I think what I also read and heard is that Boeing contributed $1 million to his inaugural fund. And that fund that nobody knows where that money went because not enough happened to spend it all, is what they're suggesting. And so where did it all go? I guess he called Donald and said, oh, please don't ground our planes. And so, that's why we didn't. Okay, that's why. That's why it didn't happen. So now they're down, though. And, but $1 million buys you some time, doesn't it? I try not to be cynical, but, he just makes it so easy. It's shameful that the rest of the world had it right and we didn't, and it was our company. It was an American company. Although some of these corporations, I don't even know, just because, their main headquarters might be here. I don't know anymore. I think a lot of these big corporations are no different than oligarchies. And I think that they're so global now that they don't really have a home anywhere or an allegiance anywhere, clearly. Maybe not even to all of the people in the world. They should have grounded that plane after the first one, brand new plane. People complaining, and they didn't. And now more people have died. So it is what it is now, isn't it? But they're finally down now, and I don't think they're flying anywhere. So that's good. Maybe they can get to the bottom of this before anybody else dies. I mean, doesn't that matter? Have we all become so accepting and jaded about the notion of acceptable loss? That this kind of death is okay. Over 300 people died. 300 families devastated by the loss. They matter. Well, to some people they matter. Yeah, well, this too shall pass. Eventually. So anyhow, at least that little bit of news is out of the way. I haven't really checked the news this morning to see what's going on. Other than that, Mr. Manafort got his I shouldn't say his final sentence because New York went and indicted him on 16 more charges. I just got the card. All right, keep this one in mind. 7 of Swords, theft of intellectual property. Just as I said, Manafort got his additional charges. Ooh, I wonder what that means. Keep that one in mind. They always say that when you drop a card, that's your card. So keep it in mind. 7 of Swords. I like to do this as randomly as possible. So if you haven't been here before, welcome. My process is really simple. I initially started just doing one card and one rune and comparing the two and see how they mesh or they don't. How they can one can inform the other, and then. But I can't just draw one card. So eventually, I just started doing three. But I don't lay them down three at a time. I consecutively. I do them randomly. So because I want this to be as random as possible. Anyhow, if it's your first time, welcome. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate you more than you could ever know. So let's get started. See what we have for today. And I always take the 13th card every time. 13 figures I was born on the 13th, but it figures prominently into my life for some odd reason. Probably the whole witch thing, but I don't know. It just does. So I just happened to notice, and there was in fact, there was even a time, oh God, I mean, this must have gone on for years, where I would wake up at 3:13 every single morning without fail. This went on for years. So clearly, threes and 13s figure into my life. So anyhow, 8 of Pentacles we drew. It is about progression. It's about leadership skills. In this case, you can see this man, and he's plying his trade, working his craft, building his legacy. But with the 8, excuse me, with the 8, there's a feeling of greater harmony, greater unity, greater awareness of unity consciousness. So whereas I've said this before, like in the 6 of Cups, you'll see a scene where you've got 2 young kids. One has got a series of chalices, and they're all filled with flowers. And she's offering it to the other child that's walking by. And so it's just like random acts of kindness or shared abundance and all of that. But what you see with the even numbers, I think, is a progression toward greater awareness of the unity consciousness that is all of us, And so you're looking at the greater aspect of self within that. And so you're thinking about somebody other than yourself, but it's not just somebody, it's more somebodies. And so it's the greater awareness of the unified presence of all, really. And you see that manifested in the 8. At least in terms of Pentacles, you do. Now, the 8 of Swords shows us, a woman blindfolded with swords behind her, and she's all bound up, so she's bound by her thoughts. So, 8 can be overwhelming at times, but here what we're seeing is he's working his trade and he's building his legacy for the future. So let's see what this has to do with then. We'll shuffle a little bit more. Maybe he's, clearly he's not a novice anymore. He doesn't have anybody overseeing him. So he seems to be someone who's far enough along in his trade that he's actually making a living with it. I'm going to take a look at the Tarot Grimoire, though, just to be sure I'm not missing something. But that's the general impression I get when I see the 8 of Pentacles, that we're working toward either putting money in the bank. It's more than just meeting our bills. In other words, there's more here going on. Maybe we're saving up for something. Maybe we're putting money away for retirement. Maybe we want to increase our assets so that we can look better on paper when we want to go maybe buy a car or go buy a house or something. And so we're putting in this time, though, to contribute more to our security with the 8 of Pentacles. Well, undeveloped potential is part and parcel with a Fool. Here he's taking the leap. You'll see a lot of this in different tarot decks. And not just in this one, but where you're almost like, it's almost like you're on the precipice of something new. He holds a white rose of purity in his hand. The sun is shining. You see the snowy peaks behind him. His dog is at his side there, his knapsack over his shoulder. He's not even looking. And he's going to take that leap of faith into life, into form, into manifestation. So this is a manifestation card, and that's what we're doing here. So today, what we're talking about then, let's look at another card though. Today we're looking at what are we going to manifest then? Having to do with security. And like the Fool, that's a major arcana card. So that's higher self tapping us on the shoulder. So what it's really saying is that we're going to maybe want to take a risk, you know, that we can, you know, this is even progression, okay? No risk here. Just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So maybe what this is saying is take a risk, and you might even get more security if you do. That if we stay comfortable and we don't ever step outside our comfort zone, that we never know what's on the horizon, do we? Here, he's very focused on what he's doing, and it's not that that's not a good thing, but sometimes, especially when the Fool comes into play, maybe it's saying, you know what, you're doing great. Maybe now it's time to expand, or, you know, it's time to grow a little bit. Maybe it's time to, or maybe you've been doing something else and this is a new trade and you're doing really well at it. And so now it's maybe time to expand into it. So if this is representative, if the Eight of Pentacles is representative of new stuff you're doing, maybe it's just saying, hey, you know what? You're getting really good at it. So you might think about, you know, maybe making some money with it, you know? It could be, so maybe a new job opportunity is coming your way and you might want to think about it, give it some thought, see if it's going to maybe make things better in your life. Let's do one more card. The Ace of Pentacles. Again, I think that's definitely what this is about. Here we see the archway and the path to new experiences and new endeavors, having to do with our financial security and our wealth and our physical, the physical matter. That's what Pentacles is all about. It's the earth element. Its direction is north. And it's basically about the mundane aspects of life. It's about our physical wealth, our security. It could be about health. It could be anything to do with our life itself. Okay, not having to do with will, which is wands, or intellect, which is air, and swords, you know, or cups, which is emotion. So if it's not that, you know, mental aspect basically of things, if it's simply about the day-to-day living, then that's Pentacles. Okay, and so all of your small cards are going to define what all that is on our day-to-day lives. And so when you see the Ace of Pentacles, you're talking about something that's new that way. And so this could be some new skill that you're developing, but he's doing very, very well at it. Or if we're going to pair it with the Fool, it could simply mean that, okay, you've been doing this for a while and you're doing really well, but maybe now it's time to explore something else or to expand on this. Maybe not change what you're doing, but maybe, say if you have a business or something, maybe you might think, if you're doing well financially right now, then maybe you might think about expanding to a bigger place, for example. Or it might be that you might want to hire staff if you don't have any, or maybe you want to add somebody and contribute to the greater economy that way by adding somebody into the business. Hot flash time. But basically, I think I'm going to have a fan here, one of those little desk fans, you know, and just be able to turn it on, and or one of those handheld ones. Or maybe I should just try to find an actual fan, a nice, pretty, Chinese fan or something, and a lace one or something, uh, and then I could fan myself that way instead of my tarot, my simple cheat sheet. Although it's useful, isn't it? Anyhow, or maybe one of those palms, I could have some guy maybe my husband could stand here and fan me. Anyway, menopause. It's so much fun, isn't it? Anyhow, but yeah, I think that that's what we're looking at here. We've got maybe some changes on the horizon with the Ace of Pentacles. That something new is coming into play. Either again, maximizing and building on what you've already been doing here, because the Eight of Pentacles is certainly about building wealth. You're building it. You can see it going upward. Okay, you're increasing it. But the Fool is here, and we're talking undeveloped potential. So either something is about to change that way, either having to do with what you're already doing, building on it, or maybe you're going to explore something new. Well, we have Awaz, the 19th rune of the Elder Futhark, and so 9 and 1 is 10, which reduces to 1, which is new beginnings. So that definitely aligns with the 5 energy of today for change, and the Fool as well. Now, Awaz is an interesting rune, similar to Manaz, only it doesn't have Gebo in the middle. What you have here is Laguz, forward and reverse, don't you? Put together and you have Awaz. But as the 19th rune, again, you're looking at new beginnings. You're also looking, it's a water element rune, so you're looking at abrupt change, partnership. The Merkaba also. So it's useful for astral travel. I know I've used it in an astral travel bind rune that I've done. It's nice to do those. You can, bind runes aren't necessarily just for magical purposes, they can also be used as talismans. They can be used to hold in your hand and as a focus in meditation. So one of the things that Awaz can be used is thought to emulate Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged horse. So there's a sense of travel with it. So in a sense, it's related to Rido, which is about even progression and working together in concert. Think horse and rider when you think Rado. But you think it the same also with Awaz. Now, Sleipnir, of course, wasn't a horse. Sleipnir was likely some aircraft that Odin would travel around in when he was here, because Odin wasn't, exactly an earth human. Another kind of human, more elevated, but not an earth human. But basically, when you're looking at the fact that Laguz forward and reverse, you're looking at flow, aren't you? But it's not just flow from one direction, it's interactive flow. And that's why you're looking at the idea of again, also horse and rider with this one, not just with Rado, and it being about travel and all of that. But basically, it's movement over obstacles. And so that's the other primary interpretation over this. Anytime you see something that's reflective of the water element, you're talking about flow. You're also talking about movement, change, all of that. When you compare it to emotions, then you're talking about having emotions flow harmoniously. And so Awaz is about harmonious flow and interaction and movement. So when you're moving past obstacles, you're not confronting them as much as moving around them. As you'll see with water, when the water is leaking out of my pond, I can divert it by putting, this and that in front of it, and then it won't try to go through the rock or the sandbag or whatever I've got there, right? it'll go around it. And so that's the idea of the water element, is moving around things instead of moving through them or confronting them the way, say, the fire element would, and the will, or reason, you would try to reason your way out of it, maybe, but the water element is going to move around things. And so, and to be easy about things, to not, get in, real conflict with people about anything, or in conflict with the moment. Just move around it. It's like in the grocery store. Sometimes it's like, and it isn't just guys. It's women too. They don't pay attention where they're going with their carts. They don't pay attention to what they're doing. They're in their moment, right? They're oblivious to everything else that's going on around them. And so rather than standing there and waiting for someone to move, I have an entire store that I can go through, and I would rather just do that. I'd rather move around them. Why interrupt their flow? Why interrupt their focus? Maybe they're trying to remember something when they're looking at something, like, what was I supposed to get on this? Which one was I supposed to get? Why would you want to interrupt that? So move around it. Don't confront so much. And also, take that leap of faith into something new. And if it doesn't work, then just move to something else, But I think that that's the theme of today. Be open to new experiences here, because it just might increase your revenue stream if you do. It might be something where, you get an email saying, hey, we were thinking about you and we've got this job opening and you would be perfect for it. Well, there's an example of where you didn't go out looking for it. It just came to you, and this undeveloped potential just dropped into your lap. Explore it, take that risk. That's what the theme of it, I think, today is all about. Take a risk, do something different with your life, do something different with your financial security. You don't have to make a complete commitment to things. You can just sort of test the waters and explore new things. You never know. There could be something out there that makes your life a whole lot better than it is right now. So cool. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? On this day of change. Well, awesome. Well, I think that does it for today, and it does it for this week. Thank you so much for coming by this week. I appreciate it. Again, if you haven't clicked subscribe, I'd love you to do that. Check out the blog. I'm going to do a lunar transits today. The moon moves again today, at this time into Cancer. And so check that out. The rest of the tarot series on the Queens, I'm going to do the Pentacles next. I've done the Swords and I've done the Cups, and now I have to do the Pentacles, and then I'll do Wands. That'll either go up today or tomorrow. But I guess that's it. So check out the blog at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. And thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you next week. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.